everyone, welcome to What Do You Think? My name is Nancy Wallace and I host this show, and for everybody out there, I want to remind you this is my last live show. I have been doing it for over 4 years and I'm going to take a break. But tonight, for my last show, this is going to be one hell of a show because we're going to talk about things that people probably know in their heart and are really afraid to talk about it. My guest name is Richard Gage, AIA, and he is architect, has been an architect for 23 years, worked on many different kinds of construction, and we are going to talk about 9/11 and the truth behind it. We don't have a long time to do it, so we're going to go right to it. So, Richard, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Nancy. Great to be here with you today.
You know, that's great. You know, I have many questions. I have since 9/11 occurred, as well as I'm sure many other people do. Now, you have a group of people that you work with who are trying to get the truth out, and you've also made a movie. So we're going to talk about all that. So, Richard, can you just give me a quick synopsis, kind of a little bit of history about you and why you want to get into the 9/11 false flag conspiracy theory that's really out there?
Yes, what we don't have is conspiracy theories. What the 1,700 architects and engineers that I represent are concerned about is the evidence that has been omitted from the official reports about the destruction of the 3 World Trade Center towers on 9/11. This is really rather extraordinary. I mean, we have the 3rd worst structural failure in modern history happening on 9/11, and yet most architects and engineers know nothing about it. This is World Trade Center 7, which is a 47-story skyscraper which drops uniformly, symmetrically, at free-fall acceleration, straight down almost into its footprint. It is extraordinary. It looks exactly like a controlled demolition. And yet the official story 7 years later tells us that, no, this is normal office fires that brought this building down. Well, normal office fires have never brought down a skyscraper in the history of skyscraper fires. So we know something's wrong, especially since it looks exactly like a controlled demolition. The media is not reporting this. So when architects, engineers, and others find out about it, they get quite alarmed. They look at the rest of the evidence on our website and in our DVD, 9/11 Blueprint for Truth.org, and our new DVD, which is called 9/11 Explosive Evidence, Experts Speak Out, in which we have 43 technical experts laying out all the evidence, not just for Building 7, but for the destruction of the Twin Towers, which turns out to be a very explosive event in and of itself. And these architects and engineers end up signing our petition, and that's why we have 1,700 now demanding a new investigation, not only of the evidence, but of NIST themselves. NIST is the National Institute of Standards and Technology, who was tasked with explaining these 3 high-rise collapses.
You know, Richard, there's been many questions. When it happened, everything inside of me said no. Whatever they're going to be putting out is a total lie. And the people they're going to be blaming it on is a total lie. And they covered up many informations. I mean, you know, they talked about the steel melting, and the office fire never, ever is strong enough to melt steel like that. Plus, they cleared it all away without a lot of testing. Is that true?
Well, the official story acknowledges that fires aren't hot enough to melt steel. The problem is that we do have pools of molten iron found in the base of all 3 buildings, the rubble pile of all 3 skyscrapers, found by structural engineers, metal, the workers, the iron workers on site, and the firefighters. It's amazing. I mean, jet fuel and office fires only get to be about 1,000 to 1,600 degrees, maybe, under the most optimal fuel air conditions. But what we have is the evidence of molten iron, and this is found throughout all the dust by official sources. Billions of previously molten iron droplets, and up to 6% of the dust samples in some cases contained these molten iron. Well, that takes 2,800 degrees to begin to melt. What could have caused it? Where did the iron come from? It's not melted steel. It's elemental iron. Well, elemental iron is a byproduct of thermite. Thermite is an incendiary used by the military to cut through steel like a hot knife through butter. So we have the evidence of thermite incendiaries found by official sources, but not owning up to it. It's also found by the metallurgists who are documenting the melted steel, hot corrosion attack on the steel, with the ends of the beams evaporated, the beams looking like Swiss cheese under Building 7. This can't happen by office fires. So, and yet they document this material, this evidence, and yet NIST actually excludes the evidence from their final report. It's clearly evidence of a cover-up.
Well, it is, Richard. Plus, even watching the buildings go down, buildings, when something is crashed into them, do not go down like these buildings went down. They went down, very much, it was controlled demolition. Anything that you watch on television or movies that shows you controlled demolition was a perfect copy of what happened with the World Trade Center and also, on number 7. And yet, the planes didn't crash into number 7, did it?
No, they sure didn't. And yet 7 came down, according to the official story, by normal office fires. And you see those normal office fires, they are pretty scattered and pretty small. They could not have destroyed all 80 columns on each of 8 given floors, which is what would be required for the building to drop at free fall acceleration, as fast as a bowling ball dropping unresisted off the side of this building. That's how fast it's coming down. No resistance from any of the 40,000 tons of structural steel framing members are given up there. And in the case of the Twin Towers, it's a very explosive event. It doesn't fall like an implosion, well, except in the first 4 seconds. The point above the jet plane impact is telescoping in on itself. In the first 4 seconds, that mass has been completely pulverized, and after that, what's happening is the building is tearing itself apart, and at nearly free-fall acceleration, it's hurling 4-ton perimeter wall units at 70 miles an hour in every direction. Lateral. We know gravity works down. It doesn't work out. And we have explosions also blowing out of the buildings in an obviously pre-engineered pattern well below this so-called zone of destruction, what we're told is a pancaking collapse. But we don't have any, or hardly any pancake floors down. We're missing 110 floors in each of these buildings. Each of them are an acre in size, and they're simply missing. They're pulverized. You can see it in the videos. 80,000 tons of concrete is being pulverized in midair to a fine powder, along with file cabinets, up to 10,000 file cabinets. They couldn't even find one. And they couldn't find 1,000 people, not a trace of them. So a very explosive event going on. In fact, it left 700 bone fragments on the roof of the adjacent skyscraper across the street. These were the size of a grain of rice. 700 human bone fragments. And still, there's not a trace of anybody, of any of the 1,147 victims out of the 3,000 that we lost that day.
Richard, the people that you have that are actually working with you and kind of in your group, can you give out your website so that people can go to that and find out a little bit more about who's working with you? I mean, Ed Asner, he's part of this. He's on some of your movies. So could you give out your websites, please?
Yes, it's AE911truth.org. That stands for Architects and Engineers for 9/11 Truth. Once again, AE911truth.org. And Ed Asner is one of our largest supporters. He introduced our film at the opening night of our 30-city tour of the world premiere of our new movie, the documentary 9/11 Explosive Evidence, Experts Speak Out. So we're coming all the way across the country from west to east. We started in San Diego and Beverly Hills, and it went very well. We had standing room only in San Diego, and in Beverly Hills we had a set of very incisive comments by Ed Asner exhorting the media to do their job and to report what's really going on here.
Now, when the movie is being shown at these different cities, are you present with the movie? Are you traveling with the movie?
Yeah, I'll be in person introducing the film all the way across the country, including in Albuquerque on May 30th, Wednesday. I'll be showing the movie at 7 p.m. at the University of New Mexico at the Centennial Engineering Center Auditorium, or room 1041.
Now, if people want to get tickets, no matter what city they're in, how do they do that?
And that's pretty easy. Go to the website for the film, which is called 911 Experts Speak Out. And you can get the tickets right there.
Is that .org or .com?
I'm sorry, 911expertspeakout.org.
Okay. So, because we want people to get it. It's so important, Richard, that people start to figure out the truth. I mean, I've been hearing many, many stories since this all happened as to why our government and whoever else would be involved with this. Do you or can you give any insight as to why our government would do something like this?
Well, that's beyond the expertise that I have. We certainly need a real investigation that finally happens for all of the forensic evidence and the eyewitness testimony that is so abundant in the documentary that we show. It's really, really important. And so once we have an investigation, we can, with immunity, we can offer immunity to bring forth witnesses and to find out why there's been a cover-up, find out maybe who may have been involved and perhaps why they did this. What we do know is that we have been engulfed in two major wars in Afghanistan and Iraq. 1 million people have already been killed, including 6,000 U.S. soldiers. We have a right to know what started all of that. Our civil liberties are not only at risk, they've already been removed by the Patriot Act, the Military Commission Act, and this new National Defense Authorization Act, where Americans can be tortured, put into jail without even being charged indefinitely. This is not the America that we want to allow to remain. Let's get to the truth about 9/11, and we can pull the rug from these wars and this effort, this power grab, really, at our personal liberties.